opened up the race once more. This time it's Jason Holden there who's second race for race for white. He's taken out the leader, then he takes out the third place car, so he's the man that could be from the retribution.
Out of nowhere, the 1994 semis were on. The first event was at the Stoke Auto Speedway. In a relaxed atmosphere, Dave Beresford gave Rob Hughes his impression of the race
qualifying points. And we've got one of the veterans of the raceway driving car 260, Dave Beresford from Hadfield by Hyde in Cheshire. Well, David, plenty of semi-finals down the road over many years. What do you think of this one?
It's all right. I think it's going to be tough. I think it's going to be a lot of action and a lot of cars going out of it, to be quite honest. But it'll be all right.
A very similar sort of situation, perhaps, that you found yourself in when you won that semi-final at Long Eaton back in 1990. Again, you're in the middle order of the grid, and you managed to punch your way through. Do you think that could arise again?
I wouldn't say no. That's about it.
Well, what do you think of the track? The sort of shale at Chesterton's very much to your style?
Yeah, it's okay. They've worked hard, making it a lot better than it was with all those bumps and humps. But as you know, I've only done a couple of meetings. One of them I virtually wrote my car off because it hit the fence, but hey, it should be all right.
Would that have been the car that you would have preferred to have used if you had the opportunity?
Well, hey, I've got the opportunity. We got it finished. It's all ready to race, but I've been racing this one quite a bit, so I thought I'd stick with this.
So who do you see as your main rivals out on the grid tonight? I mean, you've got the likes of Wayneman and Peter right on the front row, Andy Smith's there on row 2, and you're starting right behind Mark Gilbank, who's really shot up in the sport over the years, hasn't he?
Yeah, they're all good drivers. It's just how it goes, really, just how it all breaks, and just take it as it comes, I think.
Well, back in 1991, Bert Finnegan was the man who won the World Championship after many years of trying. Do you think a lot of people would be sentimentally looking that way for yourself this season?
I don't know how many sentimentalists there are. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. I wouldn't say no.
Right then, David, I wish you all the best in the semi-final and hopefully see you on the grid at Bradford.
All right, cheers, yeah.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Track drying out and the dust raising is halfway next to
Outside front starter was car number 1, Peter Falding, the defending world and national points champion. Rob Hughes caught up with Peter before the big race and got the number 1 view on the season so far.
Row 1 this afternoon with 122 World Championship qualifying points is this year's defending world champion driving car number 1 from Rotherham, Peter Falding. What expectations do you have of tonight's big race, Peter?
Don't have any.
Now, you're not allowed to say take it as it comes or I don't know, so let's have some positive answers. Are you feeling positive about tonight's big race?
I don't know. Just go out there, see how everybody's running, and see what you can do.
How's your form been at Chesterton so far this season? Have you had much luck here?
Not really, no.
You've had back in May a bit of a trouble with the engine. How's the Chevrolet unit been performing since?
Well, that one hasn't been performing. It's in garage at home. This is my spare one that I've been using since.
A small block again?
Yeah.
And overall, are you feeling confident to see if you can maintain this gold roof?
I don't know. There's a lot of things that can happen to you. At minute, I'm only one that's guaranteed to be in World Final, so it don't really bother me that much.
I take it you don't feel as if there's much pressure on semi-final races then?
Oh yeah, there is.
You still get nervous?
Yeah. Not yet though. It depends. I mean, this year to me there don't seem to have been no atmosphere to racing, so consequently it tells in how you feel before a race.
Obviously then you appreciate the atmosphere that a crowd can give you. It gives you a bit more incentive.
Oh yeah, I would sooner be second in a race with 30 or 40 cars than like win a race with 12 or 13 cars. I mean, if there's no atmosphere then it's not much good, is it?
What do you think of your grid position on outside row 1? Do you think an outside grid position is going to present you with any difficulties on the shale tonight?
You never can tell. I mean, young Frank's out with his car, he hasn't had much success with it, so I don't really know. You just have to take it as it comes. I mean, you can think to yourself, oh, I'm going to be one that leads straight away, or I'm going to drop in behind him. You just don't know. You just have to wait and see until you start coming around that third, fourth bend.
So really you haven't got too much in the way of race tactics, looking for a 1, 2, 3 or a win or anything like that?
No, I just go as fast as I can. If anybody's quicker, I'll just let them go and have next place behind them. And that's how I'll go. If somebody's in my way, then you have to decide what you're going to do at that moment in time.
OK then, Peter, best of luck in tonight's semi-final. I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
So
The race itself saw Peter Falding and Judy Wayman on the front, Andy Smith and Keith Chambers on row 2, Mark Gilbank and Neil Long on row 3, and the veterans Beresford and Burns on row 4. Following the lap 1 sort-outs, the leaderboard read 391, 515, 250 and 260, with Bobby Burns around the edges. Casualties included Falding and Mason, with Chambers, Gilbank and Burns exiting by halfway. The race then featured lap after lap of changes between Judy Wayman in the speedy Shell car and the slower Andy Smith machine, with the heavily weighted 515 car unable to handle the changing Stoke surface and going into 2 half spins, handing second place to Andy. Meanwhile, Dave Beresford was on the charge to the front and had soon passed the battling youngsters for the lead. The veteran then made the race his own, and while Wayman and Smith battled away, Dave took the checkered, followed by just 12 cars from a grid of 24. The rest of the meeting featured a great consolation when Graham Bird made an unexpected counter-attack on John Lund, and a true semi-final day main event final going to Ian Platts. The meeting finished with a discussion topic in place thanks to Bobby Burns. In recent weeks, Bobby had been banned from the B class at Skegness and had dropped out of a good place in the afternoon semi. Following a tremendous Grand National win over Peter Falding, the charismatic Southern Crusader brought the deficiencies of class-ridden stock cars and a definition of real stock car racing to the public.
Dave Beresford. In second, 391 Andy Smith. And in third, 515 Frankie Wayman Jr. All going around to an appreciative
53. We lose 329 Richard Brighton to the infield. In goes the bumper into that top turn. And the former world champion John London 53 gets alongside and takes it up with 2 to go. 53 and 99. From 55 third. 99 comes back at him and 53 drops back to second again. John London 53 will close right in, get the bumper in again going around that final turn. I don't think he's quite going to get there. Graham Bird in 99 will hang on to take the jag of 3. From 383 we lose Ray Williams in 26, he's on the infield. 237 and 99 goes Bensworth down there. 383 who still has the length of a straight virtually to spare. 53 and 515 himself away as well. And Peter Falding in number 1 has gone into that pile too. So 3 of the and still it's Dave Johnson in car number 38. And 380 Steve Kaiser into the fence on that top turn. Now 128 John right to the lead with Ian as soon as the leader is across. We want to go straight to red, please, straight to red. High to the loom road turn, Bobby Burns in 471 hanging on for Peter Falding in car number 1. In goes the bumper into the final turn. The 471 car drifts wide, but we'll hang on for it. 471 wins the national from number 1 and 260 and 64. The red flags come out straight away.
Hey, how are you going to say them now?
What about Falding and Lund?
Yeah.
Well, you said they were gay.
No, you said they were gay.
Oh, well, I was only confirming what people are telling me.
But what do you think of him after, you know, he had a good
Well,
shot?
this race here?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a dirty driver, isn't he? He come at me very hard. No, it was a good race. I thought he was going to get me, and then I changed my mind. I thought, no, he ain't.
But you took a bit of stick that last couple of laps.
Yeah, I took a bit of stick all night.
But tell me about now, you quite
I've enjoyed it. Yeah, it's a shame in the semis. We thought we'd have got a lot further than we did. I cocked it up here, spun myself, and that was it. But
you were third then, weren't you?
I was second. No, I was on?
Yeah, third.
No, I thought I was second.
I ain't going to argue with you, you might have been second then.
Anyway, whatever. But yeah, it was a good night, and the race, it's the first time I've been here, and I've enjoyed it. It's a good race. This is stock car racing.
Are you coming back then, Bob?
I shall come here tomorrow. I'm not going home, I'm going to stay here.
Anyway, super win. It was popular with the crowd.
This is what stock car racing is.
Well, I think there's 1 or 2 people out there that agree with you, Bob.
And this is what we want, more of it. We don't want too many of these people. They can hit who they like, but I'm a bit old now for this. But no, this is what people want. They don't want going round and round. They go round and round and go and watch hot rods.
Yeah, I think you got a few fans out there that agree with that.
And my car is a B car.
But they won't let you race it, will they?
No. And it says on the sheet it's a B car, and that's why I didn't go to Skegness.
But why won't they let you race, Bob?
I boycotted it.
But why won't they let you race?
Well, they said because of me, but they didn't say on the form. On the form it says your car. Don't say nothing about a driver. And my car is definitely a B.
So will we see you on tarmac then if they let you go as a B car?
Absolutely. They told me, I didn't go to Skegness, but they told me that the B racing was superb. This is what people tell me. This is truth. The B racing was what they want, and the A's was crap. I'm not trying to be controversial at all.
Anyway, thanks very much, Bob.
A lot of big title stock car racing was due to go down in August, and bringing July to a memorable close was a unique Bradford meeting, which really started with Heat 2 and really finished in the final. Rob Hughes commentates.
Entering turn 1, and who's going to come out the best? Number 2, Paul Harrison there, really applies the pressure through turn number 2, and into second place he goes. And the red tops pull on through, and Wayne Hadley is left high and dry. As 383 David Johnson, he's the second blue top, charging through the pack in the early stages. The one in front of him, down the back straight he goes, is 34 Mal Brown, who currently lies in second position. And number 3, Eddie Roberts on the crown of turn number 1, has lost it in dramatic style. I don't think anybody's aware of it. Look at that! Look at that! Let's see if we can get a close-up of this. They're trying to signal to Andy, but just look. Has he got a fire in it? Just look. And Andy getting out of the car now, realising the situation. And there's no real extinguishers up here in the pits. This could be a little bit of a hairy situation as the man with the water cannon is going to intend to cool off the engine, seeks to stop the danger of a fire from the petrol tank. Field. Here they come, the leaders through the pits turn. In the yellow tops is number 3, Eddie Roberts, as 424 Mike Haywood comes to a halt. Leading the blue tops is 234 Mark Duxels, goes into a spin on turn 2. It's 140 Andy Robertson beginning to brew 37. Bob Templey and challenging before 383. David Johnson goes through on the inside of the pile, which claims the Robertson hold on. Have you ever seen wet weather like this? 413 Matthew Bennett spins out, and Andy Robertson's gone. So Andy Robinson, he's back in front of 383 Dave Johnson and holds him up as the lightning comes to flash in real Fort Lightning style. And Andy Robinson's playing, oh my God, what is he up to? And that's allowed number 1 Peter Falding to go neck and neck with 383 Dave Johnson as they lumber down the home straight and tackle one another somewhat. And who's going to come out the best? The world champion at the head of affairs through the top corner. Down the home straight is leading. And will it be sugar or bust from 383 Dave Johnson? And he's gone through to lead once more. And this is coming quite comical. The top 3 now all together. 383 Dave Johnson leading from number 1 Peter Falding and 260 Dave Beresford. And it will become as no surprise to any of us that this is the last race of the night here at Bradford. The Grand National has been cancelled, and I have never known racing conditions like this. 383 leading from number 1, then 260. I have a feeling that Jim Conlon could be a lap down, so 471 Bobby Burns is next in line with 53 John Lund, and the The thunder flashes across the skies again, and 383 Dave Johnson goes wide. Peter Falding back in there and clouts him aside, and Johnson's got into the plating. Number 1, Peter Falding now leading from 260 Dave Beresford and 383 Dave Johnson. Oh! My goodness me! And the lighting's gone in an almighty flash, and that will be the end of racing tonight. And what a way to finish! And the lightning went, and the crowd have got the most excited they've been all night. The winner being number 1, Peter Falding, and God decided enough was enough.
Since he exploded into the echelon of Brisca Formula 1 stock car racing at the 1991 Skegness World Championship semi-final, Kev Smith has without doubt represented the race fans' ideal stock car driver. And despite superstar success, injuries and a long list of drivers out to get him, the 64 car remains the inspiration for a whole generation of low-grade drivers. Kev's links with the big league were formed in the early 80s when he joined the racing teams of Ken Hopes and John Russell. By the end of 1985, the charismatic 18-year-old found himself out in a borrowed number 61 car when 2 outings gained him 4 national points. On Christmas Day 1985, Kev's Formula 1 career got serious with a surprise birthday present from John Russell and Kev and John Spence in the shape of a sparkling ex-Dave Beresford car. Under Ken Hope's old number of 64, Kev was on his way, although progress wasn't exactly meteoric. By the end of 1987, the record showed 29 points scored. This improved to 80 national points in 1988, including fame at the Hensford World Final meeting and a yellow roof. 1989 was the year Kev should have gone red, with Ken Hope sponsoring Kev in the ex-Richard Ainsworth car following the Starman's move to hot stocks. But the red roof didn't emerge in '89, which closed with 105 points and a number 64 in the grading list. This grassroots low-grader scenario was thoroughly enjoyed by Kevin and his army of well-wishers at Northern Tracks, but this chapter of the Kev Smith story came to an end when Kev's first masterpiece creation debuted for April 1990. Since October 1989, the Huddersfield council worker had been putting together his first Formula 1 chassis, and after 6 months of work and assistance from mechanics Archie Kevin and the Neil Brigg stock car stable, the Formula 1 masses were treated to the first of the now familiar blue and green racing machines. The first Elephant car consisted of a top-line rolling chassis, measured from the Bobby Burns machine, heavy-duty leaf-sprung axles and big bumpers, limited only by a Ford 460 power unit dating back to the first Dave Beresford car. The combination was only just good enough for a blue roof by the August regrading. While this brought Kev's hard-headed racing style to the attention of the Brisca Formula 1 racing fraternity, the 460 power unit had yet to stretch to a race win, and this came to the attention of stock car patron Tony Cole. Tony helped out toward the end of 1990 with a big block Chevy, which took Kev to his first 2 race wins and started off the current chapter of the Kev Smith story. For many, 1991 was the year of Kev Smith, and it started at Hartlepool on March 24. Meeting reporter Malk Aylott wrote that the surprise package at Hartlepool was Kev Smith, who, after feeling his way in his first 2 races, came 4th in the 3rd, 2nd in the final, and then captured all with a superb victory in the Grand National event. Kev then went on to a consolation win at Scunthorpe, but suffered head damage to the engine, so a generous Big Tony dug even deeper. And on April 27th, Kev received his ticket to the top, a Performance Unlimited 454 Chevrolet. Allied to Kev's well-cared-for chassis, the 64 car was now prepared to take on the best Brisca could offer, and that's exactly what happened on May 6th, 1991 at the Odsal Stadium, Bradford, in the biggest drive yet in Kev's career. Following the night's best received heat victory over all-time rival Dave Beresford, Kev started the final from the blue grade and was leading by halfway. In the midst of the most hectic final of the season, Kev locked out Paul Harrison, Andy Hodgson, and then the sport's most feared adversary, John Lund, for over a third of the racing distance. Whatever John tried, he was left looking at the Bradford beams until a turn 1 rollover saw the race brought to a premature conclusion, with the crowds rising to cheer Brisca's newest superhero, Kev Smith. Following a Grand National 6th, Kev was on a charge into the star grade, with final wins at Hartlepool, Skegness and Boston yielding 300 national points and a 12th place grading spot, and a guaranteed top row semi-final start. The rest of the season saw Kev's marriage to Marcia and the most infamous 64 drive ever at the 1991 Skegness semi-final. From his innocent outside row 2 start, Kev fended the top race favourites in turn 1, race favourites 4 and 5 on turn 3, and thus became the race favourite on lap 2. John Lund, Nigel Wharton, Dave Bradford, Des Chandler and Bert Firkin were victims so far. When a slip clutch killed Kev's chances of a high race place, Toulson and Elwell were still victims of the blue treatment before Finnegan took the checkered in the semi-final of the decade. Kev finished down in 8th place with the slipping clutch, but was still hassling the opposition even then. After finishing 12th in the National Points Championship, great things were expected of Kev in 1992, but in a rapidly changing high-tech sport, 33 appearances and 6 heat wins left Kev in the blues and 22nd in the national points. This all turned around for his last meeting of the season, however, when at the last ever Scunthorpe meeting, Kev bounced back into the limelight with a superb 4 wins out of 5 score sheet, including his first title, the 1992 Stockstein Grand National Championship. His heat, the final and Stu Smith's £1,000 dash for the cash were the other race wins, and Kev left the 1992 season with a very big grin and over £1,700 the richer. Racing from blue, Kev had to wait until August for his first big 1993 win, when after a determined Saturday night's racing at the Skegness Euro weekend in July, Kev went one better at the August session with the Saturday night stage Trust Fund Trophy. In between, Kev took a lap of honour on foot at Bradford and took a 6th in the Buxton semi-final. After the Buxton result, Kev found himself on the 8th row of the Coventry World Final, September the 4th, 1993. While everyone's eyes were on the thrilling Peter Falding drive, Kev was battling Paul Harrison for second. Kev lost, but he survived a last-lap Junior Wayman attack to finish 3rd, a career best, overshadowed only by the performance of Falding. The rest of 93 yielded 2 Bolton Stockstein Grand National wins and a total of 7 more race victories, and another career best with 10th place in the National Points Championship. This was despite a long-term leg injury incurred at the penultimate. This injury provided the time over the off-season for a total car rebuild, which would take Kev to superstar for the first time in July 1994. All this was achieved with enthusiastic sponsorship, a genuine talent for giving and taking the hardest F1 contact, and a total disregard for other drivers' property. Yet the way Kev has laughed through it all while moving to the very top of the sport justifies an attitude towards racing which could well be the blueprint for Brisca Formula 1 survival, as one of the world's most entertaining and accessible spectator sports.
The second World Championship semi-final was held at Long Eaton Sports Stadium on August the 13th, where another top-name showdown was in prospect. Racing from the inside of row 4 was an injured Kev Smith.
Sales this past few weeks. Who needs megabucks? Superstar Kev Smith starting on inside row 4 tonight. Kev, how do you feel? I mean, not only for the car, but physically yourself. How are you feeling?
So. Car's fairly straight again now. My ankle's getting a bit better. Still can't walk properly, but...
Can you just care to take us through what actually happened? I understand it was an accident at Bradford last month.
Yeah, we're just, me and Mark Duxbury were having a good race. We were going, well, we were battling for checkered flag for about 9th and 10th, I think it was, and I'd braid him wide up Pitts Bend. He'd gone up, wide up banking, I'd sneaked out inside, and we come out at Bend, like rubbing wheels, and we were going to be, you know, equal 8th or whatever, and I just hit a beam and it threw me straight in front of him and full chat into the fence.
It was full chat, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, head on, it was a good one.
So how are you feeling now? I mean, I noticed that before I saw you walking around the pits, you know, hobbling quite badly.
Yeah, but at least I'm walking again now. I come off crutches like on Tuesday, so I've had, you know, a week and a half on crutches, so...
This is the superhuman dedication of the Formula 1 stock car driver, is it?
No, just daft, I think, innit? No, daft.
Now, a lot of people, particularly down the years, I mean, we look back to 91 at Skegness, and you were the joker in the pack, you know, and giving the crowd class entertainment. But the flashing lights and the years, and every time you're out, you're experiencing and getting that little bit more refined. Are we still to expect the joker in the pack from Kev Smith these days?
You never know, do you? I don't know. It just depends on... Skeggy other year were perfect, wasn't it? You know, you have to take every race as a different race, and you know, you don't know what's going to happen yourself. You know, some people say, all right, I'm going to do this in this race, and you don't know because it's stock car racing. So first bent comes, and if chances there like it was at Skeggy, I thought, yeah, I can do it. So you do it. I mean, you get out tonight and you might think, I can do it, so you do it. Or you might think, no, I'll just hang back. You know, every race is different and you just take each one.
You can never anticipate what's going to happen until the green flag drops, eh?
Yeah, and after, even when green flag drops, you've then to go down that first straight and then decide what's going on. It's spur of the moment, and sometimes if you think about it, you'll make mistakes. Well, that's what I find, you know. If you don't think about going in for something, it comes off better. So.
Do you like Long Eaton?
I never used to. But we started coming here, I think, last year, and this year I think it's been about the most successful track, really. So, yeah, I like it. Nice place to race out now. Yeah, enjoy it.
And so, let's have a look at your opposition. What have we got here? Well, Ian Platts is right in front of you, hard-charging driver. Your mate Phil, he's out there too. What do you reckon about the chances of those in front? Do you reckon you're going to be on the pace with them, or even to pass them?
Who's that there?
That's Lundy.
Ooh.
You know.
All right. Yeah, I think he could win it, couldn't he?
He's the one. If you're not going to win it, then it's going to be John, is it?
I think it could well be Lundy's race. Yeah, if he gets away and puts a good race, and I think, you know, he should be man. Then again, Stevie Hodgson on his day, he's a good man, and Plattsy just lately, you know, he's just been turning it on. So.
And if the likes of all those, including yourself, who have been mentioned, get through to the World Final, it's going to make a real class grid, isn't it?
Well, I hope so, because I mean, we want some good racing again now, don't we? Get some crowds back. So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, at least you're still under the service and all that, Kevin. I wish you all the best for this semi-final race.
Right. Thank you very much then, Rob.
Thank
Cheers.
you.
They will line up at Oxford Stadium in September alongside Dave Beresford on row 1.
The Long Eaton semi-final had London Harrison on row 1, with Hodgson, Phil Smith, Ian Platts and Jamie Davison completing the top of the grid. Into the first lap, Paul Harrison had cut over John London into the lead, with London back in front on lap 4. The order now read 53 to 64, but a big 64 push saw Kevin to second and ready to challenge Lund. The semi was thrown into disruption, however, when a home straight pile-up claimed the 53 car and Kev Smith went into the lead of the semi-final. Past halfway, it was time for another change. Kev misjudged the line of back marker Shane Dorella, went flying high into the air and wide into the bend, leaving Ian Platts to take up the first spot. With 3 to go, it was Platts, Smith and Harrison, with the 64 car gaining on the race leader. Kev caught up and a big 64 hit saw Platts wide and out of it, moving Rob Cowell into the top 3. The shock result was discussed on the line after the race.
I'll tell you the winner in the very best sense of the word for this year's semi-final at the Long Eaton Sports Stadium. But the man with the superhuman quantities has got to be Kev Smith, 64. Kevin, with the Coca-Cola in the hand, never mind the trophy, you must be ecstatic.
Yeah, I love it. It's been ace. Loved it. Brill. What else can I say?
Best part about it was the way you managed to carve your way through that pack there. Some of the questions in hand when you came to pass John Lund. Paul gave you a great battle. Ian Platts, of course. Do you care to comment on any of those?
Yeah, Lundy went wrong side at pile up here, so you never go fence side. Well, I don't, anyway. Yeah.
Let's have a... What do you think, you two? What about the battle that you two were having in that race? What did you think?
It were one-sided. I mean, he gave me a good one, and that was that. It were a one-sided battle. I think end of race, I was coming on him. I'd got dry tyres on, and perhaps another lap or so, and I might have been right on him, but 25 laps, and we got to end rate, and I couldn't catch him. That was that. It was close. I saw him coming. He was getting close to the end.
Yeah, you're satisfied with the result, Paul?
I'm happy with finishing second. I get to start in front of the foreigners for the first time. It's a comfy position. I just hope Kev wins toss now, and that puts me on. No, loses toss. That puts me on inside, doesn't it?
Hey, to think though. I mean, you'll probably be back with a perfect leg by the World Final.
Are you calling me a tosser? When are you calling me a tosser then? I hope it's all right. When you give me that figure down there.
Well, enough of the interaction between these two. That's the top three. But Rob, come here. You are the man in third place. Well done.
Thank you very much indeed. I'm chuffed to buggery. I'm pleased for Kevin and pleased for Paul, but bloody hell, I'm more pleased for myself, I tell you, mate. I enjoyed that. That was good.
Because the way you come through, you were hovering for the positions, seeing the opportunities when they came through. Would you like to drive something like that?
No, it was difficult. I mean, from the 6th row, I got it, bided my time a little bit, and I got a bit of back bumper attention. But I was lucky. I got through. There was a pile up down here which enabled me no end. I came this side, everyone else went the other side, and then that was it. Once I just past halfway, I mean, there was no one there to trouble me.
I mean, all of you must be delighted with your positions, but I suppose any sort of commiserations for Ian Platts and John Lund?
Yeah, tough. No, isn't it? We could have got a flat tyre.
Would they commiserate with us?
Yeah, that is stock car racing. Gentlemen, congratulations, a superb race, excellent content, the crowd really enjoyed it, and now it's going to make way for an excellent World Final. All right, thank you. Thanks a lot.
The rest of the races went to John Lund, Murray Harrison and Peter Falding. This meeting signalled the start of Murray Harrison's return to the top and the emergence of Will Yarrow in an ex-Falding car. Both drivers becoming top race winners in what remained of the season. Rob Hughes was once more on the line when Murray took the grand final.
That was a dramatic final. Well done, Heaton final double tonight.
Well, that's very good. It makes a change. We've had a lot of bad luck this year. Things are starting to come right. Hopefully now this is the start of it.
Did you find that the blue top was of a benefit?
I don't like starting with the blues. It's a rough sort of first few laps with them. Everybody goes a bit crazy in the blues. I prefer starting with the reds, but I haven't got a lot of choice really, so we have to start where we put. But we got away that time, so that was lucky.
Yes, it was a very good break that you got, didn't you? Because earlier on in the race, Will Yarrow, number 22, he was going very well in that folding chassis, wasn't he?
Yeah, I could see Will was leading it, like, and it took me a long while to gnaw him down until we get close enough to sort of get by him.
Car handling well tonight, then, I take it?
Yeah, I'm very surprised really, because it's starting to dig up a little bit and the track's starting to get a bit rough in the corners. I didn't know the car would take it, being a tarmac car, but I'm very pleased with it.
So, now that's managed to get a Heaton final double, is that going to get you back up to that red roof before the season's out, do you think?
We're trying very hard now, we're going for it now. We want to get back up there and end the season on a little bit of a high, if nothing else.
Well, it's been a superb night tonight, Sir Murray. Oh, the crowd have certainly enjoyed the semi-final. What do you think about the prospects for the World Championship now?
I think it should be a good race. There's a lot of people there now at the front who have got a lot of chances, like, you know, and I think somebody who takes initiative like could quite easily run away with it unexpectedly now.
You're going to be an enthused spectator, are you, on that one?
We've still got Bolton to go yet. There's still 2 more places left. We're after one of those now, like, so it's better than nothing, like.
That's right, Murray. I mean, you've had an excellent night tonight. Let's see if you can keep the momentum up. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
2 drivers takes inside pole position at the World Final at Oddsor next month. So
3 weeks ago, and tonight's semi-final winner, 64, Kev Smith. Now to decide who is going to take the pole position for Bradford. Here we go. Dave Beresford calls heads, and it lands as heads. And Dave Beresford Dave Beresford wins the toss of the coin with the choice of heads and goes inside. Dave Beresford does indeed select the inside pole position of the row 1 for this year's World Championship, and Kev Smith 64 is on the outside. Now you'll be able to work the grid out.
212 and 53. John Lund.
Many people have claimed that August has sparked off a new level of action on track, and another new factor making Formula 1 racing better was the return of John Lund to the race-winning group, when he followed up his consolation win at Long Eaton with an afternoon trip to Kings Lane the next day. Big John won Heat 1, avoiding a surreal white-top rollover, which no one seemed to notice. Heat 2 featured more strangeness, with Rob Cowley balancing a marker tire around the track, with the win going to Murray Harrison, who seemed completely at home on the golden Kings Lane trail. If the first half of the meeting featured action and the second half of the programme saw some classic stock car racing, Graham Brown commentates as we join the last races of the day.
He moves through swiftly and smartly into that third, and they're chasing down 141.40. Now you have to see if he can manipulate his way through. He's certainly got plenty of space behind him. The attack from Junior Wayne is not going to materialise, and he's checkered flag time for 97, Murray Harrison. Oh, then Mr. Starter there, and he's whipped about in there. Cars through ahead of 515, Junior Wayman. 5 this time. 5 this time. Lisa Harter there, 24. They received the 5 to go ball this time. She goes high, Warren Manson though. Unfortunately on turns 3 or 4. Big Schumacher at the other end of the stadium. Flames around about half a dozen cars. It's 24 then. Matthew Bennett taking the outside line around there. Still in that second spot. Fortunately, that track is now cleared at the bottom end of the stadium. Lisa Harder, 24. 413, Matt Bennett. 515, Junior Wayman closing right up in third spot. Junior Wayman ahead of 53, John Lund, by quite some considerable distance. Lisa Harder again swinging high, wide and answer around turns 3 and 4. Powering away down that home straightaway. Matthew Bennett inching closer than the 413 car. Not too far adrift, he's 515. Junior Wayman is poised and primed to make his challenge. With the 2 lap to go board this time, Lisa Harder still in control. Well, Matt Bennett beginning to close them, beginning to close rapidly now. Lisa Harder then leads the pack down that back straightaway. 1.5 laps from the checkered flag. Matt Bennett inching towards that bumper of the 24 car. Junior Wayman's big drop was still there in third. It's all going to happen on this last bend. Matt Bennett trying to broadside on that inside of Lisa Harder there. Lisa Harder leading. Watch the Bennett attack. Has Lisa Harder got enough of control and nerve to come towards the checkered flag? Matt Bennett launching a challenge right on the line. It's 24, Lisa Harder. And Matt Bennett then pushed onto those inside safety tyres. Oh, what a crackerjack race then. The first real action from the Brisca F1 stock cars this evening. Could well have a change as John Lund moves through to third, and a change up from Matthew Bennett. 413 now there at the head of affairs. It's 413, 338 of John Lund, so it was all changed around turns 1 and 2. Let's see what's going to happen this time. Bennett leads 413. John Lund comes barging his way through in that second spot as he brushes aside Chris Broxon, 338. Junior Wayman 515 on the charge. Now he's got ahead of John Kaiser in 17. There's the leader, 413, 53. Halfway next time, the Union Jack about to be shown this time. That denotes the halfway point. This Brisca F1 stock cars grand final. It's Matt Bennett, 413, John Lund, 53, Junior Wayman, 515, and 17, John Kaiser. Could well have a change. A bumper comes in from Lund. Lund takes the 413 car, who in turn stops Junior Wayman in his tracks. So once again, it really was all changed there. That move initiated by 53 John Lund, and that's really taken him well clear of the pack then now. 53 John Lund comes through the start and finishing line well clear now. interesting to see who comes through in second. Could well be 17, John Kaiser, then still there in that second spot. He's quite some way adrift there of the 53 car. 4.56, Robert Butterfield still there in third. There's second. There's third through. They're chasing down 53, John Lund. 91, Wilf Warnes comes through in fourth. Murray Harrison and Rob Kelly having a right little connection there. Here he starts the finish line as John Lund. 5 next time, Mr. Carter, 5 next time. Still on to play for them. Brisca F1 Grand Final. The circuit drying out well. We got some tremendous action as John Lund comes rearing through. Takes the 5 lap to go board from Mickey Mulder. It's Lund then. Extending that lead over 17, John Kaiser. In quite some fashion. 53, he's a leader over that start of finishing line. John Kaiser, 17 is in second. Then in third we've got 91, Wilf Warnes. 4, 5, 6 in third spot, 91 in fourth. And more trouble down that back straightaway. John Lund's got out of that well. That was superb from the 53 car. It could well have cost him possible victory, but he's still there. 53, John Lund. 4, 5, 6 in second. 91 and 17 and 97. That's your 3, 4, 5, Mr. Starter. But it's still John Lund then, having got away from that skirmish down that back straightaway. He's coming through, takes the 2-lap board. And now with a virtual clear-cut track ahead of him. He's looking for victory here at Kings Lynn, Saddlebar Road Stadium this evening. No one can get near the 53 car. His closest pursuer is 4, 5, 6. Looks as though we've got a good scrap going on with as Murray Harrison comes through. But the last lap ball was out this time. All the action surrounding the second and third spot because 53, John Lund's got this one right in the back as Murray Harrison pushes his side clear. But Lund's got the checkered flag. Who's going to come through in second? It is. Oh, I'm not going to call that one. That was desperately close. Second spot.
After the 2 semi-finals, the big event of August came with the 1994 long track. After Ron Kroener's untouchable race win in 1993, the British arrived in Holland all set for a monster weekend of a party. But there were some who were still out for victory. These included Steve Hodgson, who was racing with a push-button gear change, Judy Wayman, who was ready to fence everything on turn 1, and as always, Peter Falding, who had built another tarmac special to contest the race. But surprise favourite for UK hopes was first-time visitor Andy Smith. After a few long track modifications, Andy had visibly the fastest UK car in practice due to a perfect turning at the corners. Frans van Soest interviews the surprise favourite and Keith Barber looks over the top cars before the race.
For the world title today, 391 Andy Smith on his debut visit to Barlow. How were the first few laps for you, Andy?
Very good. It's a big place, isn't it? I don't know about one of the very big favourites, I wouldn't say that. It's my first time here. The track will take a fair bit of getting used to, but seem to adapt very well in practice. They tell me I had some good time out there, so we'll just have to see, won't we?
The turn in of the car was really good. Regarding this is the first time you've driven this car over here. Were you pleased with the setup?
Yeah, it was going around the corners lovely. I was very happy with the car setup. It's revving a little bit hard, but I think you've got to rev them hard around here, you know, to make them pull out the corners. Yeah, the car was handling lovely, no problems with that at all.
It's a superb looking tarmac car. How long has it taken you to build this one?
It's took me about, on and off, about 5 months, a long time. Yeah, a lot of work gone into it, a lot of time.
And a bit of advice from Dad?
Not really, no. He'll admit himself he's a bit out of touch now, but he comments on a few things, but he leaves it to me really, you know.
He must have given you advice regarding this track. He's a Barlow expert, maybe the best driver never to have won the World Final. Has he given you any words of advice for today?
He said just basically, it was short and sweet. He just said don't bottle out. He said keep the foot down as fast as you can and get as far down the straight before you have to shut off, because he says we're inexperienced drivers here tend to have a tendency to shut off too early and lose speed going in the corners. So I tried to do that in practice. I tried to leave it as late as I could. It seemed to be working. That was about the only advice he gave me.
You know what happened here 10 years ago?
No, tell me.
Mr. Welters?
Oh, I remember that one, yeah. My dad had a bit of an altercation with Freedom, didn't he? Yeah, he fairly laid into him that day, didn't he?
So no heroics from you today?
Not early on. If I'm in with the shout late on, then it's a stock car, it's got bumpers on and they're to be used, even though we are going very fast. But I just want to feel my way early on. If I can come home in a top 5 finish, I'll be very happy.
Who do you think will win today's race?
Who do I think will win? I think there's a few drivers with a chance. I don't know who's going to win. I think Pete Kaiser's waited a lot of years. I think maybe it might be his year this year, but we've been saying that for a long time. Curran's fast, isn't he? Peter, new car, I haven't seen how it goes round, but they were saying it were going round very well. John, you know, there's half a dozen drivers who can win this race.
You've got 2 cars to play with now, only one season, you've only been racing for 1 season, already 2nd row World Final this year. Where does it end?
I don't know, we'll just have to see. I'm well up there at Bradford, more than I could have hoped for really, 2nd at the semi, and we've got a few tricks up our sleeve for Bradford to try and get a bit more performance out of the shale car. So we'll be going for it.
Thanks, Andy, top contender for the UK today. Yeah. Best of luck.
Has raced here a few times before, so it's not entirely new. Very similar to the Kroonder car in as much as it's a very low build. Kroonder, however, runs a ratio change box and a conventional, or a fairly conventional, rear axle, whereas the Kaiser car is an American quick change rear axle. Also, the Kaiser car has 225 Hoosiers on the inside rear, and all the rest are 245s. Front axle on the Kaiser car is from a Mercedes truck, but mounted on radius arms with coil springs all round, coil spring damper units, which is becoming the way to go at the moment. As far as power unit is concerned, we assume that's a big block under there, but we'll just have a quick look and see whether it's big block or small block. Block Chevy in there. The size of the exhaust headers would suggest a big block, almost certainly is then. Drive sumped to get the engine really low in the chassis, and like all these cars now, extremely low to the ground. That is certainly a car that is potentially a race winner, but as far as results go, Pete Kaiser himself has always been the suspect part of the equation. He seems to bottle out under pressure from English drivers. Time alone will tell on that one. While the Kroonder car on pole position has been winning most of the races here this year at Barlow, the question is, of course, whether or not any of the more recent additions to the grid are as quick or quicker. Certainly Kroonder has got the ability, as far as driver goes, to win this title again, defending champion, of course. The multi-link rear suspension is slightly different to Kaiser's. Kaiser is on a more conventional Clive Linton style radius arm. That should perhaps theoretically give him a slight advantage, but nothing very significant. Radius arms on the front as usual. Only slight difference here is that the inside front is a torsion bar as opposed to a coil-over shock absorber. But this is the car that won last year, and certainly the odds have to be with Ron Kroonder, small block Chevy powered. The biggest hope for English drivers, certainly on past form, beautifully painted by Mark Ford. Small block Chevy powered for the first time. Peter's got an engine from Performance Unlimited. A new, entirely low build car, perhaps not quite as low as some of the Dutch cars. Conventional LD rear axle with, of course, the Doug Nash gearbox. Front axle is Morris LD, a very early axle there, which is a little bit lighter than the more recent FGs. Coil springs all round, small block Chevy by Performance Unlimited, and we would think certainly the best hope for the English, unless, of course, you look to the other car alongside in inside grid there, Junior Wayman. Maybe Junior Wayman's car could be the one to steal the thunder of Falding and Andy Smith. Andy Smith, of course, is a little bit further back, but we'll go down the grid, look at Andy Smith's car very shortly. The Andy Smith car was the one that everybody was saying looked really stable through the corners, the best handling of the English cars. and certainly a beautiful looking machine. Should be entirely there as far as specification goes. It's got everything that any of the Dutch cars have got, but it's big block power, dry sumped, 510 engine. As long as he's got it geared right, that could be the car that's bringing a surprise. Who knows? Again, Mark Ford sign work is very distinctive. KPI tyre sponsored, big block powered, Doug Nash gearbox, LD rear axle. And alongside is, of course, the very similar John Lund car, perhaps not quite so good looking, but nevertheless the car that set the trend as far as the latest generation of English tarmac cars goes.
7-2 Stephen Hodgson, 250 Keith Chambers, 202 Richard Mason, 464 James Davidson, 212 Frankie Wayman Senior, 21 Mark Gilbank, 393 Michael Smith, 29 Ian Higgins, 327 Howard Davis, 41 Gareth Bott, and 247 Andy Webb. They're coming into turn number 3. The start could be any moment now. The checkered flag drops and away the Formula Ones go for the 1994 Long Track World Final. And John Rollins goes past Pete Kaiser. An almighty scrap for the first lap there. And then goes the bumper and away goes 31 and 240. And it's first, 217, then followed by number 10, 515, number 1, number 8, 31, 22 and 53. Peter Falding goes through into third place past Frankie Wayman Jr. and it's Kaiser.
After seeing off Andy Smith's car in the Jack Class event, Ron Cronder went on to execute a commendable performance on the kilometre oval with a 3 out of 3, 100% win ratio. John Lund became the top UK man results-wise with a 3rd in the Memorial race and a 2nd in the meeting final.
For the last bend, and there he goes, number 217, Ron Cronder smuggling styles. And he takes the checker there, and it's 217 taking the World Championship here at Barlow.
The annual Golden Oddy Clutch start session once more featured Ron Cronder practising in the UK. The Ascendall face had raced to no results at the Saturday Stoke session, but went straight to a 3rd place finish at his first Odsal Stadium race. Heat 3 saw a last bend Keith Chambers drill on Kev Smith, and while this wasn't totally successful, it was a true indication that Chamber was well at home in the big hitting ranks of Brisca Formula 1. The rest of the meeting featured a Mark Duxbury final and a consolation Grand National double for John Lund, and of course a meeting full of first bend clutch start pile-ups.
3-4-4 Tony Brown calls a pile-up, and this is allowing some of the white-ups to get away, although they're soon putting paid to their chances thanks to the really wet right in the middle of the home straight. 2 laps left for 64. Kev Smith right up with him as we go on to this, the last lap. It's 64, 250 and 218, and here comes Chambers with the last ditch attack on Kev Smith, but Kev Smith not going to be one to try and deny himself. Oh, and it's going to go in, and 64 Kev Smith goes out with Chambers, and that leaves 218 Denny Fairhurst to take the checkered flag. He goes wide, and in the inside of it goes 464 Jamie Davidson, and 436 Richard Knight goes out there. Isolation race. He's closing though, he really is closing, and 464 Jamie Davidson has burst the tyre, and the dent, and again it's all checked. And Kevin Clare didn't get caught in 116, he's out over the logs. Who's going to get around the first bend clear? Here they all come, a big pile up, and just look at the carnage. As all hell breaks loose right the way around this super fast shale oval. The final already, and that ends the challenge of 97 Murray Harrison as he hits the. It's going to be checker flag this time, and Duxbury takes it. Up with the gun, the accelerator's on, and here we go. And once again, there's a big pile of ball on the far side, far too much, and just look at that melee. And though he's whacked aside, into the plating goes Falding in a big way. And it's in the Stocks Line Grand National, ahead of...
In the world of Brisca Formula 1 stock car racing, Bobby Burns has remained one of the most charismatic characters from his rise to stardom in the early 80s through to the present day. Bobby's oval racing career started in the early 70s when he raced bangers with fellow Londoner Richie Ahern, but in 1978 he took out a driver's licence for the big league, which boasted Dave Mellor as world champion, Stuart Smith with a silver roof, and Frankie Wayman, Dave Hodgson and Bert Finnegan with flashing lights. The blonde bomber won 8 points in 1978 at the wheel of an 8-year-old Stuart Smith car. In 1979, a Heat 3 7th at the long-departed Haringey Stadium, along with some tenacious driving at Northampton, saw the 471 car in the yellow grade by May, and a grand total of 32 points by the end of the year. In Bobby's second season proper, the ex-Smith machine was dumped in favour of Wayman cars, which would eventually take Bobby to star. For Bobby, 1980 really started in June, when after watching the now blue-top Richie Ahern win the May 5th Sheffield final, he returned in style 3 weeks later and spurred the rent-a-car onto a Heat 2 6th and kept up with Smith and Cronshaw for a Heat 5 3rd. Stock Car magazine report that Bobby Burns started the final on pole position and kept it all the way to the checkered flag to round off a 6 minutes and 5 seconds worth of compelling viewing. John Hillen was the main challenger, getting ever closer until the infield grass reduced his traction, and boy wonder Willie Harrison stole second place. Willie then had a bash with the leader, but laps run out, providing Burnsy with his first ever final, and 2 Sheffield finals in succession going south. The rest of 1980 saw Bobby racing the Frankie Wayman hire car to 148 points, a semi-final reserve spot and a blue roof in the last regrading of the season, but more importantly, an October final win on the hallowed shale at Coventry. In 1981, Brisca Formula 1 saw the emergence of the uncompromising Bobby Burns, by now a major personality, when the Ilford Essex Ace moved into the star grade at the first regrading. 471 was now part of stock's folklore, with sports writers heralding the man who travelled from London to Hartlepool to beat Len Wolfenden, and who made a 450-mile round trip to put Rob Bradshaw through the fence at Rochdale. Bobby was now campaigning a new Frankie Wayman aerodynamic mean machine, and had matched Richie Ahern as top southerner with 4 race wins each. But with no semi-qualification, Bobby went into semi-retirement following this near roll at Coventry. But it was in 1981 that Burns made the big time, with the red roof and his reputation as a true stock star firmly in place. The following year saw the tragic loss of Richie Ahern after a prolonged fight for life, following his tragic Coventry race accident, and for Bobby, the Rat Trap series of cars, which echo the man's unique car style to this day. Meanwhile, Bobby settled into a consistent mid-star ranking until 1984, when he hit the spotlight with a concerted national points drive. By the end of April '84, Bobby Burns was the top race winner and 3rd in the national points, thanks in part to a boxy-looking ex-Mike Close car bought during 1983. This determined early season effort put Bobby in the superstar grade for the first time ever, and to prove he'd arrived, Bobby stayed there through to a 6th place finish in the 1984 Points Championship, along with the Coventry Track Championship title won by the biggest margin ever. 1984 was also the year Bobby nearly won the gold. At the Long Eaton semi, the 471 car was the main point of interest as he outraced defending champion Stu Smith for an ideal Road 2 start. The stock's press was subsequently full of the London's expected Turn 1 push that would set the Bellevue Stage 84 World Race alight. But the increasing number of 471 fans were disappointed to see Bobby fail in his quest and retire early in the race soon after Frankie Wayman. The race went on to become Stuart Smith's 2nd consecutive World Final of the 80s and his 5th World Final win. The rest of the 80s saw Bobby racing Ahern-style cars, coached into stadiums from Yorkshire, while Bobby drove up from Essex. High points included a national points 3rd behind Frankie Wayman and John Lund in 1986, and a Row 1 semi and the Hartlepool Track Championship in 1987. After the epic Lund folding points chase of '89, Burnsy took up the running in 1990, which resulted in his all-time career best national point result of 2nd behind John Lund. and after causing most of the first turn aggro in the 1991 World Final, the 471 fans finally had something to cheer about in 1992, when once more Bobby took up the challenge to Lund for the long-awaited second place World Final rostrum finish at Bradford. After 13 years of stock cars, either at the very top of the national points or as a laid-back Sunday afternoon racer, Bobby Burns has enthralled thousands with his entertaining yet honourable racing style. As with the best stock car drivers, Bobby always fought for places and, despite racing leaf-sprung cars well into the 90s, was committed to mixing it with the rest of the star grade and, perhaps more precisely, not letting the fast cars get away on any surface. Sadly, with the start in the 1994 World Final just weeks away, the Blonde Bomber's career came to an abrupt halt in August '94, with a mild stroke suffered on holiday curtailing his racing. While an extensive 471 racing outfit has yet to be disposed of, medical advice has seen Bobby retire from the sport almost certainly for good. All within the Brisca Formula 1 fraternity will miss his unique brand of entertainment, but will be wishing him a lasting recovery and a healthy return to the terraces of the sport he has done so much for.
With Bradford not due until September the 24th, there was plenty of time available for some real stock car racing before the World Final, and that's exactly what was in store as a series of meetings starting September the 10th at Long Eaton. Will Yarrow continued to add to his race win list with a composed drive to his first Formula 1 final, oblivious of a Platts-Wayman duel for second place behind him. The meeting ended in style with a Shane Durrell victory in the Stocks Line Grand National Heat, a massive 34-car entry which equalled the entire programme for sheer action. Part 2 of the weekend saw the debut Formula 1 meeting at Swaffham Raceway. Unique features of this new Norfolk circuit included an all-concrete racing surface and a steel tube replacing one of the fence ropes, an effective measure that was frowned upon by the track inspectors. After permission for a B-class only meeting was denied, the Trackstar team settled for a meeting with no tarmac supercars. This visibly annoyed Junior Wayman, who still took 3 out of 4 races in his shell car, although his shell car did have 1 or 2 modifications. He took the first ever Swaffham Formula 1 race of the 90s and the meeting final. Despite a small car turnout, the meeting featured 2 rollovers, and the return of Swaffham to Formula 1, if not in 1995, will make for some entertaining double headers and the possible renaissance of East Coast racing.
History being made then by Junior Wayman, of course, all around the country. King Conrad 400. More Steve Green then flying down that home straight away. And a roll over that Steve Green gone by that comes out with Gary Doyle. Buckle Run is all Steve Green then flying down that home straight away. And a roll over that Steve Green gone by that upward comes out. Gary Doyle, the closest to sure. Peter Falding at 77 Lydia Black.
After the spectacular August session, a big return to the Saddlewell Road circuit in September was on the cards. And sure enough, the spirit of Boston lived as cards arrived from Swaffham to a buzzing Kings Lynn circuit and a full 2 heats and consolation meeting with action from the word go. Heat 1 featured a last bend folding lunge which had the stadium breathless. Heat 2 took place in a stunning Norfolk sunset and saw the 4th Wayman win of the day, with the final going to Peter Falding. Maybe not as good as the 93 meeting, but a great advert for visiting Norfolk in 1995.
Regains the initiative halfway down that back straightaway to take up the running. Brisca F1 SR stock cars consolation race. 9, Keith Neville getting right into the frame as well. 6, Brisca F1 stock cars in full flight, and just look at that up there on turns 3 and 4. Race up to see
second. Oh, but he's been taken.
History was made on September the 17th when over 70 cars braved certain pre-World Final damage to contest the pre-Bradford Stoke meeting. Heat 1 saw Junior Wayman incur the wrath of the low-grade old guard, allowing Will Yarrow to take another race win, while another action-packed Stoke session featured Andy Smith debuting his rebuilt shell car, only to suffer engine damage which would drastically alter his World Final plans. The Constellation featured the most scary incident of 1994 when Les Spencer literally rolled his car into 406 Paul Johnson, who walked away without a scratch. The rest of the Constellation saw Junior Wayman suffer yet more damage a week before the World Final, and a vastly improved Richard Brighton, who was now trading blows with Kev Smith. We joined this race with a 329 car leading.
And 48 Neil Scotland to be. Oh, and we've got a rollover right in front of us. And 98 Les Spencer is hit cab sidewards as he spins out over onto his roof. He went with 406 Paul Johnson, and that was quite dramatic stuff here in 64, Kev Smith is right behind him now, looming large in his mirrors. In third is 48, Neil Scotland on the back straight. Then comes 53, John Lund, 116, Kevin Clare, and 515, Frankie Wayman Jr. And here comes Kev Smith with the challenge. Although just look at Neil Scotland on the back end of Kev Smith. And has Kev Smith got some sort of problem with that car? The leaders approaching the home straight once more. Here they come. It's 329. Richard Brighton beginning to lengthen up quite a nice little lead ahead of 64 Kev Smith. And again the bumper goes in thanks to the yellow top 48 Neil Scotland. And his impetuosity is quite unbounded. Kev Smith really having a race on his hands for that second place. And this is allowing 53 John Lund to close them down, and so too does 515 Frankie Wayman Jr. It's 329 Richard Brighton with it all to play for ahead of 64 Kev Smith. And into third place now goes 53 John Lund, and 48 Neil Scotland receives a big one from 515 Frankie Wayman Jr. Richard Brighton now holding out a trio of star men. And Kev Smith is quite clearly slightly slower than the rest of them. And 53 John Lund is beginning to close and battle for that second place. And the lap boards are out, less than 5 laps remain in the Constellation, and it's all to play for once more as the 3 red top drivers begin to close down the long-time leading blue top 329 Richard Brighton. And here comes the attack from Kev Smith. Brighton going wide there, Kev Smith on his inside, elbows aside the 329 car, and Smith now leads the Constellation race. Back goes the bumper work courtesy of Brighton, and will he play off here? And it's neck and neck, and the blue top gets him back, and the checker flag drops, and just look at Kev Smith take out Junior Wayman as they cross the line, locked together. It was an absolutely classic return from 329 Richard Brighton.
Over the past 2 years, the Formula 1 races have become more and more relaxed as the World Final approaches. Yet the 1994 Championship of the World Final remained the most eagerly anticipated meeting of the stock car season. Dave Beresford, Kev Smith, Paul Harrison, Andy Smith, Junior Wayman, Rob Cowley and Ron Krunder were all out to win the sport's most coveted prize in '94 in what appeared to be a wide open race. Light drizzle had fallen right up to the start of the meeting, and Rob Hughes interviewed the forerunners in a perfect prospective race.
Chances. As good as anyone else's, really. I'm in the first 3. The winner always seems to come from the first 3 rows. I'm hoping that it's the 3rd row outside tonight.
You don't think that the fact that it's been fairly damp tonight and the fact that